We have all faced the situation of encountering unpleasant individuals in the world. Potholes are scattered everywhere. They are on the bus, on the train, on the streets, in restaurants, at work, in traffic, in our privacy. These difficult people from all over the world and from all walks of life simply don't fit in. They know how to act. They may have knowledge, but they don't care to do it. How do we deal with these human beings? Well, the ancient Stoics had some answers. Dealing with difficult people is a recurring theme in Stoic literature. They talked about deceitful brothers, bad parents, people who pushed in public bathrooms, those who discharged their good manners and sense of hygiene in a public bathroom. So what can we do about the noisy, smelly passengers, the obnoxious coworkers? This video delves into how to deal with these and other difficult people from the perspective of Stoic philosophy and some relevant personal experiences. After Epictetus was banished from Rome along with other philosophers, he went to Nicopolis, a city located in northern Greece, where he remained forever. In Nicopolis, he founded a philosophical school. Among his students was one, a young and smart individual named Arian. Without Arian, it is unlikely that we would not be talking to the renowned philosopher today. Epictetus, who wrote a large number of lectures and created a pocketbook with the most relevant lessons from your teacher. One of these lessons shows one of the main characteristics of Roman civilization, bathing. Public bathhouses were predominant in the Roman Empire and Roman bathing culture. Based on the ideas of the ancient Greeks, it spread throughout the Mediterranean. Bathing was, most of the time, a social activity. Romans visited the bathhouse to meet friends and invite them to parties, while politicians visited the bathhouse. They lived there to garner the support of the people. Even the richest, who could afford private bathing spaces, frequented public baths. Due to its social implications, bathhouses offered residents a place to practice physical activities, meet people, relax, and have fun. But you've probably already imagined how a large number of people attended. Public spaces so crowded, there was no shortage of donkeys, those who threw water. On purpose, they sought to steal or imagine that the bathhouse belonged to them. I fully agree. Yes, when reading the Stoic texts, we realize that, in many ways, human nature is not perfect. The world has changed and difficult people are a timeless occurrence. How to deal with difficult people at that time? Epictetus asked his students to remember the nature of their activities. We can assign specific characteristics to each action. In the locker room, for example, there are things we can look forward to when we are there. We don't like them. People splashing water, pulling others, using aggressive language, shouting and intimidating. Or shooting cannonballs, if that existed back then. Being aware of these elements inherent to bathing, we should not be surprised when we come across it was them. So what should we do, according to Epictetus, then? He suggests that the focus should not just be on showering, but also on keeping your mind occupied. Stay alert and in control. Answer. This way, it will be safer if you say to yourself, tomorrow I will take a shower. And I will keep my mind in a state of balance with nature. As with all other actions. This way, if any obstacle arises in the bath, you will have it ready to say, it wasn't only to take such bath as I desired, but to keep my mind in a state conformable to nature. And I won't stay with him if I'm bothered by the things that happen. End of quote. In the same way, we can treat public transport. What nature is this activity? Is public transport always quiet and seats are always available for everyone? Are people always kind and friendly on the bus? Do trains always arrive on time, without exception? Any traveler will probably admit that although these positive experiences occur, they do not fully represent the nature of public transport. Instead, there are many unpleasant aspects such as talkative, smelly, and antisocial people who try to avoid fees, take up a lot of space, and put their phones on speakers in a crowded subway car. So what is the Stoic way to use public transport? Based on Epictetus' verse, the answer is twofold. First, Before leaving, the Stoics contemplate the nature of traveling on public transport. Secondly, Stoics focus on keeping their mind calm while participating in the activity. Therefore, when taking the bus, expect the of delay. When taking the train, expect to encounter hostile staff and unpleasant passengers. Marcus Aurelius was considered one of the good emperors. He was also a follower of the Stoic philosophical school. As emperor, he had to deal with many people all day, every day, including some very difficult ones. Some people were rude and demanding, others were unfair and untrustworthy. Being emperor was quite a job, and the responsibility was a heavy burden. Imagine being the most influential person alive. Many envy you and try to take yours place, and a vast empire depends on your choices. Understandably, Marcus Aurelius looked for a way out, which, at least partially, took the form from a diary in which he wrote his reflections. He wrote about fortitude in times of need, about the meaning of life, about the nature of the human being, and, unsurprisingly, about dealing with difficult people. From his writings, later Stoic scholars even derived a practice known as premeditatio malorum, loosely translated as negative visualization, which I explored in depth in a previous video. But let's look at a curious example from the writings of Marcus Aurelius, in which he insisted on don't be bothered by people's unpleasant body odors. He stated, don't be irritated by people's smell or bad breath. What's the point? With that mouth, with those armpits, they will produce that odor. But they have brains. Can't they figure it out? Can they not recognize the problem? So you also have a brain. Good for you. Then use your logic to awaken his. Show him. Make him realize this. If he listens, you have solved the problem. No anger. End of quote. The thinking behind this approach is that ultimately we cannot control the behavior of other people. Marcus Aurelius realized that even though he was emperor, he did not have total power over his subjects. As we have probably experienced with the people around us, they have their own brains, will, and freedom of action. If something bothers us about them, we can only point it out, explaining the matter clearly. But is this a guarantee that they will listen? No. It may be that they are not concerned about what we say. Some people have hygiene problems and don't care about it. Unless we can encourage them to shower and use deodorant, we have no control over the situation. According to the Stoics, it is not appropriate to hold on to this. When people engage in behaviors that we don't like, we tend to focus on those behaviors intensely. This is especially true of our parents as we grow older, focusing on our flaws and ignoring their positives. However, Epictetus warns us that we should seek to understand the positive side of difficult people and strive to deal with them in a way that does not affect them. Sometimes it's difficult to change our view of people, but this can be very useful. Sometimes we find ourselves magnifying the negative aspects of people, making them villains in our minds. However, we must strive to see the good in them, as each person is more than their flaws. However, in some cases, people are so toxic that we cannot continue dealing with them. In these cases, we must take our own needs and well-being into account. If someone is negatively affecting our lives, we have to walk away. For example, if we are living with someone whose behavior has become unbearable, we must think about whether we should stay in the situation or leave it. I speak from experience when I say that sometimes it is difficult to deal with difficult people, as is the case with some individuals at work. I had to suspend interactions with them due to their abusive behavior. Following Stoic philosophy, I realized that the true wound lies in the lack of morality in the actions of the person who harms us. Therefore, the most effective way to deal with challenging individuals is to focus on our own strengths and well-being, and not allow their behaviors to negatively affect us. This may mean setting safe boundaries or, in extreme situations, walking away completely. How do you deal with difficult people? Please let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.